Hey, what's up guys, it's me Vinith and you're watching V Diaries. Usually when you see a piece of tech that is way cheaper than the others in the category, like way cheaper, you just fall thinking that it's probably inferior in every way. But Redmi 4 and Redmi 4A are the result of Xiaomi not really cutting down from the high-end flagships, but more building up as high as they can for a certain price. And this time they have come up with Redmi 4 that will cost you 7,000 rupees, and I must say, they're still killing it in the budget game. So I want to shine the light on the fact that I keep going back to, that is, good phones are getting cheap and cheap phones are getting good. This phone surprisingly didn't get as much hype as Redmi Note 4, but with my 3 weeks of usage I really felt like I got a good bang for my money. This is my 4th week with Redmi 4 as a daily driver, and I must say I am incredibly impressed with this phone. When I took the phone out of the box for the first time, my first impression was, have they sent me a wrong package? I mean seriously, the design is classy and the phone is damn good looking. It certainly doesn't look like a 7,000 rupees phone from any angle. The hard word. Xiaomi phones have always been this shamelessly, unapologetically, competitively priced, but this year it steps up to a new level of offering such an incredible piece of tech at such low price. Probably the biggest difference between Redmi 4A and Redmi 4 is Redmi 4 has a metallic back and 2.5D curved glass, which is just wow. Looking at the front, the bezels are still big, especially on the forehead and the chin. No doubt that is pretty common Xiaomi design. From top to bottom, nothing too crazy about it. Button placement is standard, the tactile feedback to those buttons is just amazing. It's better than every phone that I've used so far. The chamfered edges going all around those buttons gives it a really premium feel, and that makes me wonder about the price tag one more time. The headphone jack is still at the top. Surprisingly, they haven't forgotten the IR blaster and the LED indicator. You probably might not guess where the LED indicator is until you see it light up for the first time. The 2.5D curved glass at the top is super duper shiny, and that might be a problem when you use this phone in the harsh sunlight. There's a fingerprint scanner at the back which is really sweet, and it has got more than 95% of success rate. Initially it took me a time to get used to this location because to me it felt like it's located upward than position where I would have liked it to be, but then I just got used to it like every time. Overall the build quality and a feel in the hand is step up from Redmi 4A. And when you compare this with other smartphones under 8,000 rupees from other brands, which there aren't many of them, even then this sets up at the top pretty clearly in my book. The speaker position is one more thing that is improved over Redmi 4A. It's not located at the back now, instead it is located at the bottom. It's still an issue if you're a hardcore gamer or a person who watches lots of videos, since when you hold this phone horizontally in your hand may muffle with the speaker. It's not a big-ish problem for me, in my opinion. In order to get this phone down into this price, you got to make some trade-offs, and it's mainly had to do with the screen resolution of this phone. I mean, it's not 1080p Full HD display this time, it's a 720p HD display, but you barely even notice it unless you place this phone against 1080p display. The panel is 5 inch diagonally, and that makes it a really handy phone, but still not single-handed usage friendly because of those bezels. The display gets decently bright outdoors, the viewing angles are also pretty decent. There's actually no color fading when you see it from the sides. So overall, a very colorful, well saturated, well lit display with which I have no complaints whatsoever. So the specs of Redmi 4 are also decidedly mid-range about what you'd expect. It comes with a Snapdragon 435 chipset with Adreno 505 GPU. The one I'm holding has 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of internal memory. This sells for 7,000 rupees. If you're willing to spare more than this, then it does come with 4 gigs of RAM with 64 gigs of storage, and that sells for 11,000 rupees. It also comes with 9,000 rupees cheaper version that has 3 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of storage. The storage is expandable though, since the phone does keep that hybrid microSD card, which also means that you can either put 2 SIM cards or 1 nano SIM and an SD card up to 128 GB. The software experience of Redmi 4 is pretty classic MIUI-ish. It has mostly remained unchanged, and it does come with Marshmallow, which is almost 2 years old Android version, but Xiaomi does have plans to release nougat update for this device, which is better late than never. It does come with built-in apps like security and stuff that you can't really get rid of, but it doesn't seem to interfere in the phone's functionality. Since my 3 weeks of usage, I haven't encountered major hiccups or lags. The overall UI experience is buttery smooth. Every daily task was performed like a breeze. To my surprise, it did really well with some of the high-end graphics games that I have tried, for example Asphalt 8 Airborne. For your reference, this game eats up almost 1.5 gigs of your storage. By this only you can imagine what kind of a graphics this game must be having. I played this game with default mid graphics settings and there were no major frame drops that I have encountered. The game wasn't smooth as expected, but it was playable. Surely you can play such games with low graphics settings. So the Snapdragon 435 isn't really a disappointment. With higher RAM variant, it would definitely do better. One downside that I've noticed that the phone does heat up while playing such high graphics games. It doesn't burn your hand but surely gets super warm. To power all this setup, and the best feature of Redmi 4 is it's got a giant 4100 mAh battery, which is still absent in many high-end flagship. I got more than 6 hours of screen on time in a single charge. In these weeks, I have used Redmi 4 as a daily driver and I never go easy on my phone. Daily workout data, social networking, casual gaming, watching YouTube videos, trying out new apps, huge camera usage and 3 to 4 hours of hotspot that I use for my MacBook. With all this torture, I still left with juice for another half day, and that is spectacular. This phone has a 30 megapixel rear sensor with f2.0 aperture, but doesn't have an optical image stabilization, which is kind of a downside. So you can get pretty good shots out of this camera when you're really lit or when you are outdoors and have a lot of light. But as soon as you start losing light, you're going to see a lot of things like noise in the frame, because it's raising ISO to shorten the shutter speed to keep that motion blur. You're going to witness a lot less dynamic range and a lot more contrast, and overall just a lot less natural colors. The photos appear oversaturated, which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. It has a traditional MIUI camera app, nothing great about it. But this time around, on manual mode, there are no options to control the manual focus and the shutter speed. I can understand that because the consumers who are going to buy this phone are not pro consumers, and especially not going for this phone because of its camera. Dipping into video side, it supports 1080p and no 4K is supported for obvious reasons, and I don't see any point recording 4K video and watching it on a 720p display. Plus the Snapdragon 435 doesn't support 4K recording. The video looks shaky and distorts the fast moving objects. The front facing 5 megapixel shooter does a fairly decent job too. Not much expected, but happy with what it produced. I'm pretty much happy with overall camera performance, not to forget at this price bracket. So if your budget limits you to buy a phone below 10,000, then I would recommend this even over Redmi Note 4. Well, that's just me because of my deep love towards small and handy phones. I really feel that this can even beat phones that cost 12 or 13,000 from other brands and nail it in terms of design and even performance to some extent. So if you're balling into tight budget, then this phone is to check out. I have linked it below in case you want to buy it, but surely it's not easy to get your hands on this baby because of the fact that it is selling on a flash sale and we all know how fast it sells out. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Show some love by pressing that like button. Feel free to share this video. Feel free to subscribe since it's actually free. This has been signing off. You people have a great time and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.